The fantasy football season is not over. I repeat myself, the fantasy football season is not over because our friends over at Underdog Fantasy have created something for the truly deranged and fantasy obsessed sickos. They have given us playoff best ball. And on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we're going to cover how playoff best ball and Underdog works, what their format is, how to win money. And we're also going to live draft maybe at least one for sure, but maybe two teams depending on time. I am your host, Shaun Moran, and I am joined by my two good friends and my co-hosts, Aidan Haller and Keegan Thompson. Keegan, before we jump in, I got a question for you. Are you team Jimmy or Aaron?
I'm team whatever the hell is best for the New York Jets. I am so sick of Aaron Rodgers and all this offseason stuff that's going on with him. But hey, all this talk of Aaron Rodgers and none of this talk about why the Jets are running it back with the exact same staff. So,
Aidan, big news. Matt Eberflus is staying a Chicago Bear head coach.
Don't get me
How do you
started.
feel after the press conference, man?
Terrible. Just absolutely terrible. We're the same old joke of a franchise. We got coaches like Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll who have been far more successful getting relieved of their coaching duties. But Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus are pals. So, we're going to run it back with a 10-24 coach. Lot of rumors that they are going to keep Justin Fields and draft a QB in the first round, which would truly be my fire fest of an offseason. The only thing that could make it worse would be keeping Luke Getsy. So Luke Getsy's gone. Get the fuck out of here. Still stuck with Matt Eberflus, who just can't coach in big games. And yeah, if they don't commit to one path or the other, and I've got a rookie QB sitting behind Justin Fields, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Can't keep doing this. It's the same old Bears, but I am excited to talk some playoff best ball. I haven't drafted since the summer. It was a little overwhelming. The Badge Bros were out in numbers in some of my drafts.
I just ripped a draft before this episode with five Badge Bros.
Yeah, so
don't be intimidated.
The bros were there, but no, I started to find my footing, and I kind of relit that fire. So I'm excited to kind of talk strategy with the people today, and hopefully get a couple drafts in.
Amazing. I love it. Staying positive, even in a murky off-season situation. Before we dive into the episode, first things first, if you want to join in on the fun on Underdog and draft a playoff best ball team and you don't have an account, sign up using promo code RTM to double your first deposit up to $100. Second, if you love fantasy football, you should absolutely be subscribing to the Regression to the Mean podcast. We have episodes coming out weekly covering redraft fantasy football, best ball, fantasy football, dynasty, fantasy football, and we even talk betting and props. We're going to be doing a ton of dynasty and NFL draft coverage in the coming months, and you are not going to want to miss out. So hit that subscribe button. All right, what is playoff best ball? So playoff best ball on Underdog is fundamentally very similar to regular season best ball in the sense that you draft your teams and that's it. Underdog sets your best lineups automatically, but there are some key differences between what you've been drafting in the summer versus what you will draft here for the postseason. So again, randomized draft order snake drafts, but you only have 10 rounds, so you're only going to have 10 guys on your team, and there are only going to be 6 teams that you will be drafting with. So 6 teams total, 5 other teams, right? So it's like a 6-team mini league with 10 rounds, so 10 players. You will start a quarterback, a running back, and 2 of a wide receiver tight end. So they combine wide receiver and tight end, so it's a W/T position, and you also will get a flex. So you'll start 5 guys. I'd say the biggest wrinkle with playoff best ball is the fact that not all of the teams will be playing the entirety of the contest. So in the NFL regular season, we know that 17 games are guaranteed for the teams, but in playoff best ball, that's not the case. This means the equation that we're trying to solve for each draft is having enough firepower to advance out of the first 3 rounds while also being able to field a full roster for the Super Bowl. In these contests, the Super Bowl is pretty much all that matters because that is where the majority of the money lies on Underdog. So, for example, the Gauntlet, which is Underdog's biggest contest, the vast majority of the money goes to the top 400 teams, with $150,000 going to first. If you advance to the second round on a $25 entry, you get $20 back, right? So that's just for context. If you advance, you will lose $5. So you got to play to win, which means the Super Bowl is highly important. Keegan's going to jump into that in a second on format. I'd say 3 things to really keep in mind of before you hop into a draft. It's critical that you understand the rules of the contest before hopping in. All of your teams should tell a story, so you should have an idea of who you're predicting to win the Super Bowl, go to the NFC Championship game, etc. And in regular season best ball, player takes are super important, but I'd say in postseason best ball, team takes are more important. Which team do you think has the juice to make it a couple rounds in the playoffs that people aren't predicting? So that's just kind of the top line overview of the playoff best ball format on Underdog. Keegan, if you want to dive in a little bit and tell us a bit more about the overall format and what you are seeing and what our subscribers are going to have to take a look at if they want to enter these contests.
Yeah, I think the biggest detail for people who are going to jump in and do playoff best ball, that especially that have drafted best ball teams for the regular season and they played in the underdog tournaments this year, is the scoring is different. It's week to week scoring. So your score is not cumulative. So whatever you score in week 1 of the playoffs will not carry over into week 2. So you need to advance your team based off the top score of that round. And I'll go into the advancement structure for some tournaments in a second here, but that's probably the biggest difference, right? So your scoring resets every week as you advance to the next round. On top of that, there's 4 rounds of the tournaments, basically every round of the playoffs. Like Shaun mentioned, the Super Bowl is key. So qualifiers are your wild card, quarterfinals are divisional games, semifinals are conference championships, and the finals are the big game. For drafts, 6 people in your lobbies, like Shaun said, 10 total rounds, usual 30-second draft clock. Scoring is the same as your normal underdog scoring. It's half PPR scoring with 6 points for receiving and rushing touchdowns and other standard scoring as well. Shaun mentioned that your roster is constructed with 5 players. So on DraftKings, you're playing with a tight end position, but on Underdog, the difference is it's just a wide receiver tight end position. So you could construct your roster with all wide receivers, but 1 QB, 1 running back, 2 wide receiver tight end positions start, plus a flex, and you get 5 bench spots. Tournament advancement. So it's important to pay attention to the advancement of some of the tournaments you're playing. The key ones that are out right now that I think most people can either with little bankroll or a lot of bankroll playing are the Gauntlet 2, and that advanced structure is 2 out of 6 out of the first round. And this, so when I'm explaining this to the listeners, so 2 out of 6 of your pods. So the top 2 teams will advance on to the next one. And then it goes down to 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5 to 250 seat final. The Little Gauntlet, another popular one, 2 out of 6, 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5 with just a 50 seat final. And then the Mittens, which I think what we will be drafting today is some Mitten teams.
Oh, we're doing a gauntlet.
Are we going to do a gauntlet,
baby? We're doing a gauntlet, baby. Come on.
So we'll do a gauntlet today. So we'll show you guys the advanced structure on that. And then the Mittens are a little bit different. Like Mitten 4 is half the first round advances. So 3 out of 6. But then you get into larger pools. Then you're down to 1 out of 10. Then 1 out of 10 again advanced to a 279 seat final. Similar structure for Little Mitten 5, where it's 2 out of 6, then 2 out of 10, then 1 out of 10 to a 248 seat final. And there's also the Summit as well that I think has actually a pretty good advanced structure. That one's a $10 buy-in, but that's 2 out of 6, 2 out of 6 again, 1 out of 5, and 124 seat final. So a little bit smaller field to play in. But that is the main structure of underdog playoff drafts. You're very familiar with it if you've already drafted on Underdog this year. And if you're new to it, that's kind of the breakdown for you and what I think you need to know structure-wise.
So top level perspective here then. Each week is basically like a DFS contest. You need to advance each week.
It's like it's like their weekly winners tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is like weekly winners.
Yeah, it's a good way
each
to put
week
it.
you're restarting, so you just need enough firepower in each round, right? So I think when you're thinking top level, figure out who you think is going to play in the Super Bowl, and then kind of reverse engineer off of that and on how you're going to draft. Like,
correct.
Aidan, if you were trying to win this tournament, like, what would be like your example of a team that you would want to draft?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. If you don't have at least 5 people by the time you advance and make it to the final round, like, you kind of have no chance. You're pretty much banking each draft off of 1 or 2 teams that you're expecting to go deep into the playoffs and ideally the Super Bowl. Kind of just tagging on to that, you want teams that are going to play as many games as possible. So there's a couple different ways to do it. Obviously, you want players on the Ravens and you want players on the Niners. They're the 1 seed. Typically, those are your strongest teams. We're betting on them to make the Super Bowl, but you can't go too in on them because you've got to make it out of round 1 still.
Because
you've got 10
bias,
total slots. Like, I wouldn't recommend doing more than 3, maybe 4 guys on those 2 combined teams, unless like you've got some absolute hitters. Maybe you go really heavy on the Eagles or really heavy on the Cowboys. One of those kind of heavy hitters that are playing this weekend to get you through week 1, and then you get Lamar back or you get Christian McCaffrey back. So definitely be cautious in terms of drafting players on those number 1 seeds. Talking about Dallas and some of those teams playing this weekend, the teams that I really like are kind of the 2 and the 3 seeds. Again, I want teams that are going to play as many games as possible. Adam Levitan posted a good tweet in terms of who they're projecting to play the most amount of games in the playoffs. The top 6 are Buffalo, Dallas, San Francisco, Baltimore, the Chiefs, and the Lions. Those make sense. We've got the 2 and the 3 seeds, given that they don't have to play the 1 seed until the 3rd round. So I really like the Bills and I really like the Cowboys. I've been drafting a ton of those guys, given that I think they both have pretty solid routes to their conference championships, respectively, and could potentially upset the 1 seeds and make the Super Bowl. So those are 2 teams that I'm heavily investing in. I don't think you should shy away from players that are going to be on wildcard teams that you anticipate are going to lose, though. I think it's good to fill out your roster with best players available because, again, you've got to make it out of the wildcard round. Depending on which contest you're in, 2 out of 6, 3 out of 6, you've got a good chance to make it out of there. So there's a couple guys that I really like this weekend that I don't anticipate moving on, but that I want on my team. Like, I think Aaron Jones and Jayden Reed. I think Packers skill players in general, I think they're going to put up a fight, and that could be a pretty high-scoring affair. Those are players that could give you some nice juice in the opening round, but may not take you deep. So, you definitely want to get your stacks. You definitely want to get your guys that are going to make it to the Super Bowl and late into the playoffs. But don't forget, you still need to fill out the rest of your roster. Like, if you're staring down, I don't know, a Clyde Edwards-Helaire or, an Aaron Jones late in the draft, it's like, what does my roster look like? I need to make it out of this first round. There's a lot of different decisions that go into it. The last thing I'd recommend to go reach on ADP. There's it's such a small pool in terms of the players in your draft. It's 6 teams per draft. Go get your guys, go complete your stacks, go get the guys that you think are going to make the Super Bowl, conference championship, etc. So it's so much different than the regular season contests. The first couple drafts, my brain was in a blender, but the more you do, and the more you go to be okay, this one, this is going to be a Niners and Bills draft for me, or, just go in with a plan, pick 2-3 teams that you're saying, these are going to be my teams at the playoffs. I'm predicting they're making the Super Bowl, and kind of go from there. You may have to pivot on the fly, but you've got to go in with a plan. Whereas I think in normal best ball tournaments, you can kind of, fill it in as it goes, more or less.
And that's why I said at the beginning, team takes, I think, are more important at this point than player takes. Now, in the 100%. First round, player takes, like an Aaron Jones player take, Jayden Reed player take, I like that. But I think that Green Bay actually does have a chance of beating Dallas. Do I think they will? But, I mean, based off their implied team total, based off of Vegas, they have a 26% chance of beating Dallas in round 1. That's not 0, right? So there's a degree here of where Green Bay has round 1 and round 2 viability. I guess really quickly before we go into preferred team stacks and before we draft a team together, looking at the overall playoff landscape, right? People are going to want to draft Niners and they're going to want to draft Ravens, but it's going to be pretty hard to draft Niners and Ravens. DVOA has the Niners and Ravens likelihood of meeting in the Super Bowl. They have that at 43.5% based off of DVOA. So that's a very high likelihood that this is the Super Bowl matchup. But it's going to be really hard to draft a ton of Ravens and Niners. Just getting these drafts right now, it's very difficult. Really you're looking at a situation where you go Niners heavy or Ravens heavy, and you're filling out the rest of your roster with Justice Hill, Rachaad Bateman, maybe even a greedy Mark Andrews, right? So that's where you're going in terms of preferred stacks and playoff predictions. When I'm looking at the overall playoff landscape, for me, in terms of Dallas versus Green Bay, I do think that Dallas is going to win that matchup. Detroit versus LA, the 3 and the 6, I think LA is going to win that matchup. Even though I really like Detroit, I think LA is going to take that matchup. When I'm looking at the 4-5, I think Bucs are going to beat the Eagles here. So in round 2, I've got Niners versus Rams, and I've got Dallas versus Tampa Bay, and I've got Dallas versus Niners in the NFC Championship game. That one feels pretty good. I think Dallas here is setting up to have a pretty good run into the NFC Championship game if they have to play Tampa Bay in round 2.
One thing for the listeners too, like we're talking about strategies to win and like how you can better prepare for a playoff draft. Like someone like me, I have conviction that the Rams will go far enough. Like I like pairing Rams with an AFC team like the Ravens that I think is going to go far. It's important to understand reseeding and playoffs,
of course,
too,
yeah,
because
reseeding.
if you're going to buy into the Rams, like you also are not low key, but like you have to have some sort of assumption that the Packers will beat the Cowboys, because then it's Packers, Niners, Rams on the other side playing that matchup. So you need to pay attention to how you're drafting or approaching. Like if you're going to go in all the Rams, like you're probably assuming that the Packers make it out of the first round, because if you go in on the Rams and you think that they're going to beat the Niners, like that's a really tough task, right? But if the Rams get the other side and they don't face the Niners in the divisional and they're matched up in the NFC Championship game, you have a bit of a better chance with building out kind of Rams heavy teams. So it's important to note, like paying attention to seeding, how teams can reseed. Yeah. So I think a good piece of advice is to walk into your drafts with a playoff bracket created. Like go on myplayoffpicks.com and create a couple playoff brackets so you can understand the path that teams will take on the way to the Super Bowl.
It is a very good exercise, Keegan, and I agree, because if you reverse engineer where it's like, I think the Niners are going to be in the Super Bowl, I think the Niners are going to play Dallas in the NFC Championship game, then you probably want to avoid the Niners side of the bracket and focus on the Dallas side of the bracket, because you'll have the most dogs all the way up to the NFC Championship game. Because if you can correctly predict each round of the playoffs and get the guys that you think are going to play well or just play in those rounds, you're going to do quite well, in my opinion. And I guess taking really quickly at the AFC, I think Buffalo is going to win the AFC. I think they're going to play Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. I think Buffalo is going to play Kansas City in the second round, and Baltimore is going to play Cleveland in the second round.
That's where I'm at.
I think Cleveland's going to beat Houston. I think KC's going to beat Miami, and I think Buffalo is going to beat Pittsburgh. So that's where I'm at with playoff predictions. So I think, too, something that's important, since the NFL expanded into the 18-game season, the 6 seed has beaten the 3 seed in back-to-back years. And that is the LA-Detroit matchup in the NFC. The Niners beat the Cowboys in 2021. And last season, who was the 6 seed in the NFC that won? Who beat the 3 seed?
Oh, was it the Giants?
Yes, the Giants beat the Vikings. Great call. Yeah. So that's happened in back-to-back years. And then I'm really torn in the AFC on this Houston-Cleveland matchup. I really think it could go either way. I think if you're Baltimore, you are praying that Houston wins, because the idea of CJ Stroud going to Baltimore and facing that defense sounds pretty daunting. But like Cleveland, Baltimore play just the weirdest like death magic games. Like I don't know what voodoo doll is. It's just those games are absurd whenever Cleveland and Baltimore play each other. It's weird. Like the AFC North games, that's like a nightmare draw, in my opinion, for Baltimore. I'm not saying they're going to lose to Cleveland, but Cleveland's this team lurking, in my opinion, that I think could make some noise. I am afraid that the Magic's going to run out on Joe Flacco a bit, but they're
I just have like no belief that Joe Flacco is going to go into Baltimore. I do think they'll beat the Texans, but I just have no belief that like an old Joe Flacco is going to continue this heat run and beat the Ravens.
Imagine him beating his old team. Imagine him going into M&T and beating his old team.
They've got the defense to like keep it close too, which is the scary part. Like Houston won't keep up on defense.
I just think you got to bring pressure on Joe Flacco, which the Ravens can definitely do, and like it's going to upset his magic.
I agree.
I think Baltimore beats either one of them, but yeah, to Shaun's point, Cleveland is definitely not the matchup that I'm sure they're cheering for over in Baltimore right now. It's probably go CJ Stroud.
November 12th, Cleveland beats Baltimore 33-31. October 1st, the Ravens beat the Browns 28-3. So a little bit of, I'm saying very weird. Very weird.
That was a different team, but it's
very, very weird.
I think the AFC is far more up for grabs though, which makes these drafts difficult like I could see a world where Miami goes into Kansas City and wins. Kansas City's not the same playoff
they're
team
so
they could
banged
be.
Up. I think KC's lurking too, because I just really want the Bills to get to the last round, because I've done some drafts and I have a lot of Bills.
I've done
Niners.
A ton of Bills.
I've done a ton of Niners Bills stacks. I think the Bills have the easiest matchup of any team in round 1 against the Steelers. I feel really good about them beating the Steelers handily in Buffalo. And then they have beaten KC. I think Josh Allen's 3-0 in the regular season against Pat. I just feel like Buffalo's better than KC, and Buffalo Baltimore would be a crazy matchup.
That's my AFC Championship. I'd be shocked if it's anything but that. Like I'm drafting accordingly. I'm drafting a ton of both of those teams to get me there.
So then I guess transitioning here to like preferred stacks, and I have DVOA's likelihood of a Super Bowl appearance up in front of me. They have Baltimore at 43%, San Francisco at 33%, Dallas at 6.5%, Buffalo at 6.5%, Detroit at 2.5%, KC at 2.4%, Miami 1.5%, Cleveland 0.8%, Tampa Bay 0.8%, all the way down to Philadelphia and Pitt. They have Philly as the second worst odds of getting to the Super Bowl of any team in the tournament, which is crazy. It's such a fun. And then matchups here that have really high odds. So you've got San Francisco versus Baltimore, which they're giving a 45% chance. Dallas versus Baltimore, a 12% chance. SF versus Buffalo, 9.5%. Detroit versus Baltimore, 5.4%. SF versus KC, 4.1%, which I think is super interesting, by the way, because you can get that one.
Oh, which one's that? Sorry.
SF versus KC, 4.1%. They have a Tampa Bay versus Baltimore at 4.6%. Dallas versus Buffalo at 2.5%, which is interesting. So, I think in the NFC, if you're going to go with the Niners, I think pairing them like with Tampa Bay and Dallas makes a ton of sense. Now, I have a stack with the Rams. I don't think it's the end of the world if the Niners knock out the Rams in round 2 and you got 2 games out of Stafford, Kupp, Puka, and Kyren. But Dallas and San Francisco, if you can pair that, it would be like really tasty. Really tasty. And then if you wanted to say Dallas is going to make the Super Bowl, Dallas stacks with the Rams and the Lions makes a ton of sense. They could reverse it. It'd probably just be easier to get. I'm skeptical a team beats the Niners. # no bias. I'm a huge Niner fan.
No bias on the show.
But I'm skeptical. Do you guys think that anyone's going to beat the Niners in the NFC? The Super Bowl is a whole different thing. But do we think they're going to get knocked off at home with home field advantage in a bye?
I think Dallas possibly could.
I really don't think so, especially because I consider the Packers to be like probably the upset of the playoff weekend for me. It's like if it's Packers Niners, like there's just no chance. Like the Niners are the Packers' kryptonite. So I really just am so firm in my stance that the Niners will not only be in the NFC Championship game, but will also be in the Super Bowl. So
if all the favorites win, if all the favorites win, so if Detroit beats LA. And we get Tampa in the first. If we got Tampa in the second round, it would.
That's cake.
Absolute
cake.
Getting the Rams is probably worst case scenario in the round 2. I do think beat the Rams, but there's just so much history, right? So like it's going to be
a better team right now too.
Team.
They're playing such better. Like they're playing pretty good on both sides of the ball. I think I've got them going into Detroit and winning personally.
Yeah. They're really neck and neck.
Any news on Laporta too.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell completely messed that one up. Lost his second best pass catcher for pretty much no reason. I see Stafford going in there and
it's for testosterone. He lost his best pass catcher because his T levels are through the roof. That's come on, man. I think the Bucs are going to beat Philly, and then I think one of Dallas or Detroit loses. So those are like my takes based off of stacks. So again, SF, Tampa Bay, Dallas are a good stack in my opinion. Dallas, Rams, Detroit. I like Detroit and Niners too is a great stack because they wouldn't see each other until round 3, but you'd have to feel kind of confident that they could beat the Rams. So like it's really important to understand playoff seeding and why doing this exercise like Keegan highlighted is so critical, because you just want teams to not face each other for as long as possible so you can get as many points as possible. It's not the end of the world if you have a Rams-Niners build. It just means you got to hope the Niners go crazy in the NFC Championship game or in round 2 and it's just a shootout. So I think that's important to keep an eye on. And then on the AFC side of things, some of my favorite stacks, I like Buffalo, KC, Cleveland. and I like Baltimore, Cleveland, KC. Those are some that I like. I think that the winner of Cleveland, Houston is very live versus Baltimore in round 1. Not saying that they're going to win or lose, but I like that. And then KC Buffalo kind of feels like a lock in round 2. I know Keegan, Aidan, you expressed some very real doubts about KC, which I think are super fair. I just think that's going to happen. And then Buffalo remains one of my favorite teams to draft. So I wouldn't be shocked if KC beat Buffalo, and if KC even makes the Super Bowl even after a rough year, because they have Mahomes and they have Reed and they have Arrowhead. I wouldn't be shocked if KC is in the Super Bowl. But I like Buffalo. Buffalo's point differential has been really good this season. Everything on paper says they're a good team. Josh Allen goes full idiot ball, so it's a little bit hard to get super confident about Josh Allen. But I really like Buffalo, San Francisco. I guess I'll take a step back. Keegan, you had some ideas about builds and stacks. I'm curious to know your opinion on some of your favorite stacks.
Yeah, and not every listener is going to be able to bankroll an entire tournament, right? So that's why we suggest knowing what your game plan is going forward, understanding who your picks are. But if you have the opportunity to enter the tournament, a handful of times, you can get some pretty, you can have some conviction on teams. I'm pretty convicted that the Rams will go all the way to the Super Bowl or the big game, right? I don't even think convicted is the right word, but you know what I'm saying. So conviction. On some other teams, a team that's really cheap right now, and because of what you said, Shaun, is Philadelphia. You can very easily put together a team of Lamar, Zay, Gus Edwards with AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts to get you through that first round, DeAndre Swift, Dallas Goedert. You could go full Philly, Baltimore, and just assume that is going to be your Super Bowl, and then sprinkle in some complementary players like a Tony Pollard, a Jayden Reed to get you through that first round or whatever. But other options, Kansas City is a great pivot option off of San Francisco. So what people will see is in these draft rooms, they're so tight. If you get the 101 and you take CMC, it's almost better to go CMC, Mahomes, Kelsey, and then hope Rashee Rice comes back to you on the next one, because then you're still locking in 5 or 4 players in the Super Bowl right with your first 4 picks, because you're assuming CMC will be in the Super Bowl, and then you have a conviction that Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, which is very live. Patrick Mahomes is a live option to go to the Super Bowl at any given moment. But then you still have the best player on the board, which is CMC. You have Kansas City to get you through the first round, and it's actually a very plausible Super Bowl matchup. Now, on the flip side of things, a team like the Bills are another team that you could bet on the same thing. They're available in the first round. They have good players. It's a little bit more of an expensive player stack. So if you want to go in on the 49ers again, you could still do that with Buffalo or Kansas City, like I mentioned. But there's some cheaper pieces like James Cook. Dalton Kincaid is a very cheap piece. Khalil Shakir, that's a really good stackable lineup where you can field an entire Bills roster
Latavius Murray
pretty readily.
Well, you can get you can get Latavius Murray involved if you want to.
Exactly. And it sounds funny, but every player matters in a Super Bowl matchup, right? Dawson Knox, anybody who's totally live to score a touchdown.
Yes.
If you have like me and you believe in the Rams, that is a very cheap option to build out. In some of the brackets I'm piecing together for playoff outcomes, I have the Rams going all the way to the NFC Championship game against the Niners based off of how the bracket I have falling. And that's 3 rounds of, Puka's cheap, Cooper Kupp is cheap relative. And then if you can squeak your way to the Super Bowl with 1 or 2 complimentary Niners players that you believe will be in the Super Bowl that don't get past the Rams with your AFC team, like the Bills, Chiefs, or Ravens that you stack, that is a super, super live team for a playoff best ball format. My strategy has been so far to pick a team that you want to go all in on for either AFC or NFC. Niners are really hard. I'll just be honest for the listeners. To build a Niner stack right now is almost near impossible. So I like to prefer Lamar and the Ravens, and then go from there with some cheaper pieces and take a bet on somebody like Philadelphia, like I mentioned. I built out an all Philly Baltimore team earlier today. Is Philly going to make the Super Bowl? I don't know, but I'm approaching that draft thinking that that'll be the Super Bowl matchup. And sometimes you'll have to pivot, but you're going to have to assume there's 8 or 9 different outcomes for championships that you have ready to go. So then you can build out your rosters. And you're threading the needle a little bit, but you don't want to get caught empty handed, building out your Baltimore stack and not have enough complementary players where there as well too. But I've definitely experienced it's easier to build a full Baltimore roster for playoffs with likely Zay Flowers, Rachaad Bateman, Odell at the back half of drafts, Justice Hill than it is to build out a Niners, because some of those complementary pieces for the Ravens I like better than a Ronnie Bell or Jawan Jennings or Elijah Mitchell. So
yeah, the Niners are so concentrated too. It's the top 5 guys. So I think Mitchell maybe, but yeah, should we draft? Should we get this into practice here?
Yeah, let's get in
let's
there.
do it.
Let's dive in.
Let's do it. All right, we're gonna pull up the draft right now, and we're gonna hop in the lobby. All right,
3.
third pick.
I love the middle. I absolutely love the middle.
I would love to get a CD team out of this.
If he falls,
pick.
I've been taking
Lamar.
I've been doing so much Dallas and Buffalo.
Oh yeah, I can totally get with the Lamar because Zay will most likely be there at your next pick, which is the best way to do that, I think.
Yeah,
you could even get Zay. You could even get Lamar and Kittle, and you already have a Niner and a Raven together.
This is true. You can do that. The only thing I hate about that is like you're 2 players down and no players in the first round yet. And you're not.
We have an edge.
Like you're stacked on matchup, but you're not stacked on team.
We've done we've done research about who we think's going to win in the first round. We'll get some. We'll have an edge because all of our predictions are right. So,
correct. Yes.
Only one badge, bro.
Okay,
3 badge bros.
I think
4.
Lamar's going.
Oh, I didn't. I was just looking at the red ones, dude. Those ones, I completely missed them.
Yeah, give me that.
If Lamar goes, then I'd even take Purdy. Oh yeah, let's take Lamar.
Let's go Lamar. All right, nice. I think Zay or Kittle.
I'd rather get Kittle because you can get stacks. This is like our last chance to get a Niner. So you can go get Odell Beckham way later, and Isiah likely, and also Zay. Like I don't know. Like I think that you take a Niner if you can get one, in my opinion, because you got 2 guys in the Super Bowl then.
I hear you.
The Ravens offense is it's not consolidated. It's like
that's an early Tyreek pick.
I don't think Zay guarantees you anything, in my opinion. Like, really, what's the difference between Zay and Isiah?
There's no guaranteed alpha in that offense.
Yeah, well, what's the difference between likely and Zay? There might be. I might look dumb, but like I feel like you can go pick up EV later.
It's been all over the place with their offense. So that guy got Purdy. Is Ayuk still on the board?
This will probably be Kittle.
Wait, Ayuk is still on the board too. Oh my god, that would have been so cool.
I would take Kittle for the Super Bowl stack.
I'm cool with Kittle.
And then
Ayuk there would have been pretty bonkers to start.
Pretty cool.
He's been going that was a little later than I've seen him over my drafts this week.
And then we're in an interesting place because KC is probably not going to play Baltimore until
they wouldn't play until the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. So we could go KC here. When is Gus Edwards going? If you want to pull up
he's farther, I think. No, he's
Okay,
26.
Gus, 26. And then do we have an idea of when Isiah likely is going?
He's around 40, I think.
So we could get Dak Prescott to be around. Oh, he's gone.
He's already gone. So we're on the clock, 20 seconds here. We've got Amon Ra, James Cook, Tony Pollard, Isaiah Pacheco, Rashee Rice.
I like Rice.
I don't hate James Cook too.
Man, I don't know.
We could go Amon Ra. Let's do Amon Ra. I like that.
Yeah.
Because Amon Ra wouldn't play the Niners until the 3rd round anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, I like that. And then if we got Rice here, that'd be pretty fun. Or we could take Gus Edwards if we want to start prioritizing the stack.
These go so fast, dude.
Cook, Pacheco. Do we
So
think
he's going to
Gus
go?
falls
I
just
would
at
not be
20?
surprised if this guy takes Rashee Rice here.
Yeah,
It would tell a story. It would tell a story.
So yeah, he's
I have
banking on that
no
Super
idea
Bowl.
what Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Kyron Williams is doing right now. This guy's just
He's vibing.
BPA, dude. BPA.
He is going to
wreck
ball
this
out in the
draft.
wild card round.
And here, this guy,
That's a
he's
good draft.
thinking Buffalo SF from the 4 spot.
Okay, so
Puka.
Okay, so he thinks the Rams are going to.
Yeah.
Okay, Rice is gone. We could go Jahmyr Gibbs and get the Lions stack if we wanted to.
Yeah, it's either that or Gus. And Gus probably makes a little more sense for our stack, but Gibbs is the better player.
Or we could take Gibbs and then take Likely on the next pick, and then we could take Justice Hill later on.
I'm fine with that. I just I think this because
I'm
we have this Kittle
lose.
pick, it would have looked a lot better if we had Zay, because then you're too deep on your playoff team, and then you can make a bet on Detroit to make a run. Because
we don't think
now
Detroit's
we're not
going to the Super Bowl.
I don't think
you're really stuck on
win this week.
I don't think Zay's that good of a pick. I think Likely is a better pick.
It's not about. I mean, you think about it though. When you get all the way to the Super Bowl and say this team makes it, and we have Lamar and maybe Likely and Justice Hill,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You better pray that SF is also there, so you have Kittle, right? That's what I'm saying. Like
that's our bet. Our bet is that it's SF or Detroit right now in the Super Bowl.
Because right now we're barely going to scrape a 5-team roster of like viable players together for a Super Bowl with SF and Baltimore.
We're about to get Gus Edwards right now, so that's cool. Or did I just curse us?
Well, would you rather have Gus Bus or would you rather have Likely?
I think I'd rather have.
Too late. Don't get a pick.
I'd rather have Likely in this instance. Then. So then we have Likely.
And he's gone.
Yeah.
I honestly would rather look at the board. I mean, at the I know that people complain about seeing the board, but I want to see who's out there, Keegan, because like it's just coming up way faster. So if you're complaining, it's not Keegan's fault. Keegan's doing great. It's my fault.
No, the Mouse Man's good. Man's good.
Oh, Nico! I just got excited, even though I don't think they're going to win round one.
No.
So this is where it gets interesting. We could
got some Philly, like the Philly stack, like we mentioned in the episode, is cheap.
I just don't think they're going to beat. I don't think they're going to beat Tampa.
Yeah, I think this is the problem with going half in on a team. Like yes, we have Kittle and we have Lamar and we have Likely, so we're 3 pieces in a Super Bowl matchup. But it's like, how do you fit that together for the rest of this?
We'll need a Bateman or
Back
OBJ
end of the draft. Yeah, I think we're going to get OBJ and Justice Hill later in the draft, or even like Elijah Mitchell.
Okay. Well, we got to figure out our next pick here. We also need a quarterback as well.
I like Mike Evans.
Oh, Goff, dude, Goff too.
Oh yeah, where's Goff? No, do it.
Goff.
Team stack. I'm here for it. Yeah, let's do Jared Goff.
Because then we've got our first round QB. Bank on him winning a round. We've got that stack for 2 games.
And then we have a Lions-Ravens Super Bowl too, if that happens.
Which could work out.
Yeah.
Which could work out.
Good call on Goff. So we're pretty good now on the Lions stack. And the Lions wouldn't play San Francisco until the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, we don't need any more Lions.
So
because we're saying if they make it there, they're going to play Baltimore, who we've already got 2 of.
I really like Mike Evans in round 1 against the Eagles corners. Darius Slay, I think, already got ruled out. I think Nico Collins is a fun round dart.
Or like
that's against Cleveland,
OBJ,
which is tough.
If you wanted to,
we could take
really
Justice Hill now too, if we wanted to, or OBJ.
I'm not dying to roster Justice Hill.
We just don't have any firepower for week 1 yet. Like we have Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and Goff. That's
I like
it,
Mike Evans. I like Mike Evans for week 1. I think they're going to beat Philly.
We're going to need a running back at some point.
I think we can get Mitchell or Hill.
Could do Shaun too, but he's only going to give us a week.
Well, we have Gibbs.
Yeah.
You only start 1 RB.
This team is Detroit beats.
Yeah.
Detroit beats. What's it called?
I know. I'd like to have another.
So this is what I was saying
another
about
Super Bowl running back.
The Kittle pick is like, we're just assuming now it's like Detroit, Baltimore. Like that's your matchup. That's what you want. You just have to buy into that. So that was the only thing I had about the Kittle pick.
But you can also get Justice Hill, you can get Elijah Mitchell, and you can get Juwan Jennings and fill out the rest of your roster with Super Bowl darts if you want to.
That's not much juice.
Justice Hill's been playing super well, too, down the stretch.
Hill makes sense here. We need another potential Super Bowl running back.
And I think we feel Elijah Mitchell too if we wanted to.
I don't see Elijah. He gets like no touches. I can't imagine Elijah Mitchell in the Super Bowl.
A ton of touches. He iced the Cowboys last year in the playoffs. He got 15 carries against the Cowboys in round 2.
This whole year though, it's just been the CMC show. Like, every down.
But CMC has the calf injury. Just saying, they might mix in Mitchell. Like range of outcomes.
Oh, that sucked. Okay.
Take OBJ, or we could take Elijah Mitchell here.
We could probably take OBJ and still get Mitchell. What do you guys think? I think he makes it back down to us.
So you only have 2 picks left. You've got, in your round 1, you've got Mike Evans, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon Ra.
We got to hope Mitchell falls to us here.
We probably should have taken Mitchell there. We could have taken Bateman, but wow, A-Chain fell. Love that. So then in this instance, like we can go take a Packer with our last pick if we wanted to.
Yeah, that's like, dude, I love Aaron Jones and Jayden Reed to round out a draft. I think they definitely give you juice through the wild card weekend, whether they make it out of it or not. You kind of say goodbye. These guys both already got 2 backs.
We'll take Mitchell here, and then we have 1, 2, 3. We have 6 people for the Super Bowl.
He went shot A. Yeah. Come on, be good to us, brother.
No, we only have 5 for the Super Bowl with Mitchell.
Well, we got 5 guys, and we got Niners Ravens, which is sick.
Nice, cool. Yeah, this worked out. This is actually pretty solid. I think we did well here.
Build.
Dude, you're way too hung up on Zay.
It's not about Zay. It's the rest of how this went. It's really not about Zay because we're not, even for week 1, we have Gibbs, Amon Ra, Mike Evans. Like, we don't have a week 1 team with Goff.
Yeah,
so
we do if we draft a wide receiver here.
I see what you're saying.
We'll have a full team now. We'll have Jared Goff at quarterback. We'll have Jahmyr
what do we
Gibbs
just
at
take this
back.
home with like Jayden Reed here to end it out?
I like Jayden Reed. I think
Jayden Reed gives
hurt, but
I can't get over how stupid Dan Campbell is. I'm not drafting Laporta like on any of my teams, which is sad.
We have Mike Evans, Amon Ra, Jayden Reed, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jared Goff in the first round. I mean, that's pretty fire.
Aaron Jones is still there too. Yeah, dude, I've been taking both of these guys to round out like all my drafts.
And we didn't get a single Dallas player, which means we still have, like, we believe that, like, this is a fire team. We have a Niners-Ravens stack, plus we have a Lions stack. I love this.
I like this team. Let's see what Underdog says. How'd we do? Let's see.
Here's the final roster.
Yeah.
You get 5. You get exactly 5 pieces for your week 1 matchup. So it's a little thin, but they're good players because you have Goff, you have Gibbs, you have Amon Ra, especially with Laporta hurt. Like, you have a lot of targets and points being funneled to those 3. You get Evans against a shoddy Eagles secondary, and then you get Jayden Reed, who we actually all think could potentially beat Dallas. So it's a decent week 1 matchup. And then week 2, if you get there, you're super live. You've got the Ravens, you've got the Lions, you've got Kittle, You've got even if we believe Jayden Reed advances, like that's another bullet from Jayden Reed. So I don't hate it.
That's a fire.
I think you're mega live in the sense that if you get out of round 1, the Niners and the Lions, if they both win, if the Lions win, then they're not going to see each other until round 3.
For another round. So
the Lions could carry us to the NFC Championship game, and then you say the Niners win, then you have 5. Is it likely that Elijah Mitchell is going to get us over the hump? Probably not, right? Gus Edwards was probably a better option, but I think we're having a good team here. All right, draft number 2, picking from the 4.
Josh Allen to the
Do we do Josh? Do we do a Joshy?
Josh Allen to the moon.
I'm kind of down.
I would love it.
You know he's going to score points. You know he's going to score points too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if they don't make the AFC Championship. So, like, you're getting 3 rounds of Josh running around like a golden retriever, just racking up points.
Oh, I just don't think starting with Deebo seems rough. I'd rather start with like Brock than Deebo, honestly. The 4 and the 9.
I'd still rather have Ayuk. I know I've been battling people all year. On a week-to-week basis, I want Ayuk.
I think in best, just the ceiling is higher in my opinion for Deebo week to week. So
but the floor is also terrifying.
They're both. I mean, they both were so good this year. Everyone in the offense was so good.
Yeah.
All right. What?
Oh, you ass! What an ass! That's brutal.
So
but I think that's smart though, like
again,
because
right?
he's going to be able to build out such a nice
again.
build stack
Give us
from that
CD.
position.
Come on, take them. Fuck.
Let's take Purdy. Right?
I think we take Purdy.
Yeah, and then we could take.
God, Keegan, what do you think? I just don't want a Lamar build again, and I don't know.
Or could we do like a Mahomes Niners situation?
Yeah, like we could pick Deebo or Ayuk.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Let's
I like that.
Let's do that.
I like that. Keegan, pick which one you want.
I don't care.
Because now we can just pivot and assume
then we
that
get
the
one
Chiefs.
QB.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go 1 QB.
Do we even fuck around? Do we just take Mahomes at the 9?
We take Mahomes.
Okay.
Right?
And I mean, like, what if Ayuk falls? Or what if Purdy falls? We take Purdy at 9, right? For the stack? Or
let's see. It depends. Like, let's see what falls to us. Okay. We definitely need to talk about it.
Okay. Well, whatever.
That made our choice way easier. What's our next pick number after 9? Yeah, no, we have to take Mahomes here if that's our plan.
There's no way.
Yeah, because you could go Kittle here, but then you miss out on Mahomes, and then you're just left with an SF stack with no quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this has to be Mahomes.
Ideally, like what I would love to happen here is
Kittle falls.
We get Mahomes here. We take Pacheco here. And if we're lucky, see Rice here.
Would you rather have Rice or Pacheco?
I would rather have Pacheco, so we have a first round running back that's going to play every round.
Good point. You're sharp. All right, you hit draft. We don't want to. Let's not hold up the people. Thank you. All right. Okay. What if Kittle?
Chatting.
Oh, I'd be so sick if Kittle falls. No way, though.
No. No, still there. Diggs. Cook. Man, people are flying. There's a lot of conviction in this draft room. I respect it.
Kittle would be really cool.
Dak. Oh man, we are right there.
Kittle would be really cool. Yeah, let's do it. That's so sick. Oh wow.
Yeah.
And we could do a gross little Jet McKinnon or something.
Okay. All right.
Or Pacheco could fall.
If one of these two falls to us, I'm taking him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to get Pacheco. Like Keegan said, I'd love to have a running back live. Well, I guess we don't have a wide receiver live either.
So we probably don't want to draft any Bills. Okay, they're both gone.
Oh, back to back. That's tough. Okay, let's pivot here. Are we doing Detroit again?
We could. Or Kieran.
It's either, yeah, but
probably not.
Kieran's going to play
Detroit's
SF.
run D is so good. We could go Gibbs, which would play the third round against the Niners, or we could go we could go Amari Cooper, who wouldn't play the Chiefs until round 3. I don't think.
I think I'd rather.
I'm going to stick with Gibbs here, so we can
Yeah,
get a live running back. That's
okay.
I have
good,
more
but I know
conviction in the
points are coming
Lions
for.
advance. Yeah, I don't know. Damn it! How'd this happen again?
It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. That's why we can draft Jet McKinnon or something. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
The problem with Mahomes is if you don't end up with Pacheco, Rice, Kelsey, it's really, really bad.
You can't really stack them to anyone. Yeah, you're looking at Watson or like Tony.
Crazy. Oh, give me Amari Cooper.
Cooper would be pretty cool because we're banking on them beating Houston. So we're saying we're getting 2 games from
Cooper, and the
maybe
Chiefs
even
wouldn't
3.
play until round 3 if they did play.
Yeah. But we're saying Cleveland's going to get by. Yeah. Baltimore. Oh, we are 1 away from living the dream, baby. Come on, we've been good.
I don't hate Brandon Cooks here or Cowboy because they wouldn't play until round 3.
Damn.
Okay, so Cooper's gone. I don't hate Cooks.
I'm cool with Cooks there.
I don't hate Cooks.
Yeah, we need a pass catcher in round 1. We need 2 for that.
Are there any other
3?
Are there any other Lions on the board?
No,
David Montgomery.
You got Njoku if you're betting on them advancing. Go Nico or Evans if you're banking on them.
What's nice is we're only going to take 1 QB in this build.
Yeah.
So we can kind of stack the roster a bit. We're not going to take any Dolphins. Just structurally it doesn't really make that much sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
And Njoku's been going crazy.
Insane.
I don't think likely makes sense because he's not playing in the first round. What Chiefs are out there and available? Watson.
Clyde. Jesus, it's so fucking dark.
Really dark. We're gonna have.
We
to
might need
McKinnon.
Yeah, we're probably gonna need some jet action. But like you can take it home with that. Okay. Okay.
That kind of feels like that sounds like that looks like there's a lot of value.
Devonta Smith. I need a pick here because I have so many queued up. So
he's got a high ankle sprain. Right? Is he gonna play?
All right, guys. Mike Evans.
Yeah, maybe Mike Evans again. Let's do Mike Evans. Fellas, I need a pick here. Queue's full. Can we take off some of these guys? Like, I don't want Richie James. I don't need Richie James.
We can keep MVS.
Yeah, I was gonna even say keep Tony, as desperate as it sounds. Okay.
A-Chain is starting. Even though it just doesn't really.
He's going to lose to Kansas City in the first round. Like, we're betting on that. So
yeah, we are. Yeah, we can't take them.
The thing is, we need 5 players for the Super Bowl. Right now, we have Deebo, Kittle, Mahomes. So I still think we can take some flyers on Chiefs players or a Niners player.
We're gonna get McKinnon. God, you could take Juwan, but it's just he doesn't get like any volume.
He'd have to catch a TD.
You could take a
Nico wouldn't play Kansas City until round 3 anyway.
Nico
wouldn't play Kansas City till round 3. So
yeah, I don't hate that. Your week 1 team is Brandon Cooks, Mike Evans, Nico Collins, Jahmyr Gibbs, Patrick Mahomes.
That's fire. That team's advancing. You would think.
I hope so.
I hope
so.
Let's do Nico. I like that logic. Now we got to start. How many picks do we have left? What's that? 7.
We have 3 more picks.
Oh my goodness!
Some running backs that are left are Rachaad White.
Ferguson. I don't hate Jake Ferguson.
Aaron Jones is still up.
Running back just doesn't seem that important. I think receivers and tight ends are more because you have to play too positionally.
We got to get a running back.
Well, we have to get McKinnon or CEH or something.
We have to get one of them. Yeah. God, the running back part of this is so hard, dude. There's so few that are on like the 4 Super Bowl favorite. Then
I think maybe this pick needs to be a complimentary pick that we think has 2-3 round viability, and then we just load up on Chiefs players with our last 2 picks.
Damn, I thought the Ferg man was going to be there. We could take Rachaad White, even though I don't love it. We could. No, we don't.
I'd rather go Rachaad White and then Justin Watson plus a running back with the last 2.
All right.
Do we think Tampa or Green Bay is a better chance?
Or you could
Rachaad or Aaron Jones.
We already have Mike Evans too, so we can make the same directional bet with the team stat.
Let's go Rachaad. Yeah, let's go Rachaad.
And then one of the running backs could flex out if they go crazy.
Yeah.
Are we sure Justin Watson's going to score more points than MVS?
Dude, no. MVS has been atrocious this year.
Yeah, but he gets the targets. Let's go Justin Watson. He's been more reliable. Fuck it.
Watson has a floor. He'll catch a couple balls.
Well, he gets the 2 deep balls a game, and then I think he's caught some touchdowns recently, right?
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool if Justin Watson took us home.
Ooh, I don't know. He didn't. He had 1 catch for 41 yards, 4 for 30. He had 27 catches, 463 tugs. Marquez, Valdez-Scantling. Let's go Justin Watson.
You saw the MVS stats?
Yeah, I'm out. I'm more volume too. All right,
There's just no chance MVS is making a big play in the Super Bowl too.
Dude, he was
really the playoffs
in the playoffs last year, though. Remember, he was really nice. He had like a 100-yard receiving game in the offs last year. It feels kind of nice that we're betting on Niners Chiefs. Like that's kind of a nice pairing.
The Chiefs just freak me out.
We could take another Niner if we wanted to. Like we could. Do you think Juwan Jennings is going to have a better game than
Watson?
Jennings,
I doubt he caught 25 balls.
19 for 265 and a tug. Watson has a better role. Watson gets those deep targets. So. All right, let's take Justin Watson here, and then we'll take.
And bring it home with one of those 2.
Is it Clyde? Would you rather have Clyde or McKinnon? McKinnon's hurt, right?
Is he healthy? Yeah, let me see.
Quick research.
Unlikely return for playoffs. There you go.
Oh,
who, Jarek?
Oh no, it's done. Jarek McKinnon will miss complete postseason after surgery. All right. So we need Clyde here. I can't believe Clyde's the guy.
His headline is minimal involvement in Week 18. Yeah, what did you do?
It does turn out that Clyde Edwards-Helaire all along was the guy that you needed. That feels very comforting.
I started him in a playoff game this year in redraft, and he won it. He was fucking awesome. So
never wrong just early. Never wrong just early.
And Pacheco gets hurt every other play, so.
I love watching him run. It is truly one of the funniest things.
The cool thing is too is that all the Chiefs guys are live too, right? So they're a Super Bowl pick, but then they're all live for round 1.
That's why I love betting on like the 2 and the 3s, like seeds in this tournament is awesome because you could go 1 QB with them and just ride them all the way to the Super Bowl. Get 4 games.
Having Deebo and Kittle is fucking great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if this team gets to round 2, it's.
This team's fire. No, this seems legit. the only thing is if the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl, then we are.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is though. Like
but like that's what you have to do in these. Like you got to draft with the conviction that your team for that draft is going to make the Super Bowl.
All right, that's 2 drafts. That is 2. You got 2 examples of you got a Ravens Niner stack, which is cool, and then we gave you a Chiefs Niner stack. I love that.
Even had a little baby Tampa Bay stack in there.
This team tells a story. This team tells a story.
Yep,
it does. All right, but that's it. That's it for playoff best ball. We dipped our toes in. That was fun, guys.
That was fun. I learned
anything to say to listeners before we jump?
Good luck out there. Good luck out there.
Best of luck.
It's
Stay frosty. Stay frosty out there. All right, everybody. Until next time.